We're currently looking at a dashboard view provided by Syntervision's Oasis Manager product. The view that we're looking at is a representation of the application of a web application, actually HTTP, that's running on port 8888 coming off of this server IP. This data that is being processed is actually coming from the Syntervision Oasis Dune Appliance. It is a network appliance that has the capability to monitor network traffic at line speed for 1 gig or 10 gig interfaces. It can investigate all the way down into the data portion of the packet. So what we have done here for this demonstration is that we have told it to look for HTTP traffic on this port. It's able to discover this by looking in the data portion of the packet to see that it is HTTP, and it is only looking for traffic on port 888 for this IP. So what we have below it here in our dashboard view is just an overall view of what has taken place for the past 24 hours. So for example, if you look here on the left hand side, we have our response times, we have our transactions, we have our errors, and we would have alerts if those are actually set up. So at a glance, what I can tell is that for the past 24 hours, most of the transactions that have been ran have come in less than the 0.4 to 0.5 seconds, which is really good. And then we've had a few that have came in the 4 to 5 that we'll probably want to investigate, and we'll look at those in a second. We also then take a look over here at our transaction counts that have actually taken place. And then here on this screen right here, this view right here, we actually see the errors that have occurred. And so we will probably investigate into these as well. There has been no alert notifications. All of these items that you see across here can be set up to generate alerts that can come in the form of emails, or we could do ticketing as well. If you look here in the middle of the screen, we actually have it broken down by type. In this case, we were only looking for HTTP traffic, but in the case we had set up for multiple types of traffic, you would see the breakdown of the traffic based off of type. Transactions by locations. You can set up filters that would say that different locations are broken down by IP, so I could be able to say that these are countries, these are buildings, etc. It makes it very useful being able to see if there's errors or response times or where your load is coming from based off of your user community, especially if you're troubleshooting a problem to see is it unique to just one location or are all locations having the same issue. We also see transaction by host. For this filter, we set up everything to go to H16, so everything will be going to this one server, and in this case also we're filtering all on port 888, but if you had multiple ones see up, it would break down by those. As we look across here, we can actually see our average response time, and this is actually broken down over the past 24 hours. So at a glance, I can take a look at the server, the port, the type of traffic, and the average response time. So it gives me an idea of when things were actually taking place, and is there a time of day in which I'm actually seeing a problem with responses. And I see I have a few, and these are based off of where we set the threshold in here to alert at that I would want to drill into. And in relationship to it, I can look below it to see the actual transaction count that's been taking place. So here I have response time, and here I have the number of transactions occurred at the same time of day. So let's go back to the top of the screen and start here. So to start with, let's take a look over here at our response times. We see that we had some that fell in this 4 to 5 second range, so let's drill into it. So I hovered over it and I can see the 4 to 5, and I clicked on it, and I see for this transaction it occurred 798 times, and I see a timestamp here, and the average response time was 4.93 seconds. If I want to get more detail around this transaction and what was taking place, I can click on this zoom button, and what it is going to do is going to take me to the details of this transaction. So what I immediately see is right here is a line graph showing me the actual total transactions that took place. We do have over here on the right hand column way we can change them by locations or transaction types, etc., to make it more granular in how you actually look at it. We also can then look right here at the very bottom portion of the screen, and we can sort this based on response times, or we can actually we can actually have it on transactions filtered on. In this case right here, we see that our worst performing transaction response times took place for these two right here, and so we can drill into these actual further. This is the actual transaction that was pulled out of the data portion of the packet, and so this right here breaks down that more information around this transaction occurred, and here's our detail in case we're looking for multiple things. We'd be able to tell port and application type, etc., that's taking place. And then as you come down here, this is useful information, and all of this can be exported to a CSV. As I start looking at the actual min, the average, and the maximum response times that have been taking place for this transaction that we're looking at here at the top. If we go back to our dashboard view again by clicking up here on the top left, we may be interested in looking at errors. So again, here's our transaction count, but here's our error count. So let's start over here with this one, and I see that there was 7 errors that had taken place, and we have a timestamp there when it occurred. If we zoom into it, what it will actually tell me is here are the errors. We had 500 errors. That would be our HTTP error that occurred. It came from actually the same place, so this one IP has generated these errors, and this was the transaction that was being ran. We can actually zoom into this transaction just like we did a while ago, and you would get all the details around the transaction. One of the things that we have here that's unique as well is that the server in which this is going to, anywhere you see one that's blue means it's actually linked. So by clicking on this link, it will actually take me into the performance or the dashboard for that actual server, in which I can look at performance, historical events, etc. So maybe I'm curious if anything had took place with it. We can drill into it. There is a video out here that we've put on covering how to look at the historical performance and events for a server. So let's go back to our dashboard view again. Here on the left hand side, again, this all applies to the transactions that we're actually monitoring, and so we'll go here in a minute. We'll be able to go into the summary transactions. We can go into errors, locations, and how we actually configure this for doing the monitoring. We can see how it's configured. But let's go down here just a little bit lower, where we mentioned earlier. Again, here is the transaction types, HTTP traffics, and the locations again that we're looking at, and then the server we're going to, and then the port, and then again you have the relationship here for each one of these. If we go into the summary section of the transaction data, it gives us a little bit more information than what we saw off of the dashboard view. And so for any point in here, you can actually highlight an area and go into that area to see what was taking place. So on our summary, we see right here the transactions that were taking place, and you got your timestamps in which it's actually summarized these at. For these, you will also see your last hour, your last day, your last week for your round trip times and your response time. So at a glance here under my summary page, I can see how things have been performing recently or historically to see if there's been any type of change with them. I also have response time here, and I got my request bytes and my response bytes as well. So we can see not only what is the time is taken for the request for, or excuse me, the response for the transaction, but we're also seeing the size of the transaction both from a request and a response standpoint. This just gives us more information to understand how many unique people are actually utilizing this, or unique applications it could be, and then also the servers. In this case is just one that we're going, locations that could be drilled into as well. If we go down to the bottom of the page, you see the transaction sorted, and presently it's sorted by the count, so the most used transaction, and we see the server name was H16. So we can see that this one actually has had 1,804 errors. So this would definitely be a transaction that we need to take a look and see what's taking place on it. And we see that everything else is running clean here, and there are servers, not client errors, that we're seeing. The other nice thing is, based off of this, if they're client errors, we can identify what location they're coming from. Again, it helps with identifying, is there a problem with the actual service, or is it a problem with something within the infrastructure. And again, you have your links to be able to drill into any server and look at its historical performance and any type of incidents that's taken place. If we go underneath transaction data, it takes us down another step further. So again, we're looking at transaction data, the number of transactions over time, and you have a number of filters you can apply over here on the right hand side. If we look down here, you can actually see the total transactions, and you can see the name of the transaction, what the transaction that was actually ran, and then how many times it was run. Again, all of these can be drilled into to be able to get the details on them. If we go into the era section, on the era section, this is very helpful for looking at your timestamps. You can sort it by, you can also sort it by eras, client, servers. And at a quick view here, then I can go back and I can see what eras occurred when, and I see some 404 eras and I see some 500 eras, and then I can tell where these are actually coming from, and you see the IP addresses that are right there on the screen as well. The bottom portion of this really shows us how this is actually configured. So what we can do is we can see that we can set up different locations, and then also the patterns in which we're searching for, and then we also set up our clients and our ports in which we're actually searching for it as well. All of this data that is available here that's been summarized is also available via a analyzer tool that can be made available to anyone that needs to look at it in more depth.